My name's Jim Carucci. I'm founder of Cascader. I'm an Austin-based developer. I'm out of Pleb Lab, if you know what Pleb Lab is. And I'm here to talk today about Cascader, our project. We are pioneering the intersection of AI and Bitcoin and this new paradigm for the internet, also known as the machine payable web. And yeah, let's just kick into it. So you're maybe asking yourself why the moon analogy. What the hell does that have to do with AI and Bitcoin? And that'll become apparent soon. So want to draw an analogy here. So when John F. Kennedy challenged Americans to go to the moon in 1961, that wasn't just about landing on the moon. That was such an ambitious goal that it completely reshaped the way we do technology, the way we set goals. And we even have the term moonshot. If you think about it, people, when they're talking about a really ambitious goal, they talk about a moonshot. What that did was forced us to invent so many new things that it's completely reshaped the way we use technology even to this day. So some good examples are satellites, which gives us GPS. I probably couldn't have been here on time if it wasn't for GPS. I'm completely dependent on these things. I think we all are. At this point, we have memory foam. We have medical imaging, so a lot of really big breakthroughs in medical imaging had to happen like this. And then we have microprocessors. So this is a huge one. You use a microprocessor in pretty much everything. You'd be hard pressed to find electronics that don't have microprocessors. And so this is a massive innovation. And then this is one of my personal favorites is cordless power tools. So they had to figure out how to make battery supplied power tools. And I actually used to work at Black & Decker alongside a lot of the people that made this possible. So this is one of my personal favorites. Quick pause here. G, do you need? Should I be recording my screen here? I should, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me do that. Oh, it is. Oh, it is going. My bad. Is it going? Is that? Nope. Okay, I guess it was going the whole time. That's good. All right. Back to okay. So back. So why am I bringing this up? At Cascader, we're pursuing a similarly ambitious goal, and that's this idea of the machine payable web. So the machine payable web is this idea that the future of the internet is going to be these disparate AI bots, also known as agents, that will interact with each other. They will specialize in particular fields just like humans do, and they will negotiate, transact, and do all these things behind the scenes in order to interoperate with each other in order to accomplish complex tasks. So it'll be kind of like a bot economy that's in parallel in cyberspace, in parallel to our economy. And so I'll get into some more concrete examples, but the idea is that it abstracts all of the complexity from from humans that actually have concrete needs, and it will basically outsource different specialized tasks to bots that are specialized in different fields and areas. So let's talk about first. Let's define like what is an agent. So I use this fancy term. Everyone uses this term. What is an agent? Basically, it relies on this idea that recent breakthroughs in AI, all these LLMs, ChatGPT, Grok, et cetera, they made huge breakthroughs in the ability to understand language. This has been a very big problem for AI for a long time. Ever since the 70s, since they started pioneering this field, they found that one of the biggest problems is that you can't really give what's called imperative programming. You can't give a set of rules to solve certain kinds of problems, such as understanding language or recognizing faces or recognizing objects, because it's such a those are such complex processes. You can't make like a basic rule set. It has to be a sort of bottom-up paradigm, and so that forced them to invent this idea of a neural network. And so LLMs are, a variation of neural networks, an application of neural networks to understand language and to be very flexible in the way that they in the way that they interpret language. And in effect, they are effectively autocorrect on steroids. So they just predict the next correct word using neural networks, and they've imbibed, in some cases, trillions of data points from the internet in order to create this really great, crystallize that information in the neural network that's really good at understanding human language. So why am I breaking this down? Well, if you have that component that understands language, that means you can give it a prompt, you can make it what's called an agent, and tell it, this is your mission in life. These are the tools that you have available to you. Use them to execute different tasks. So you can give them a toolbox such as web search, such as the ability to transact in Bitcoin, such as the ability to translate languages, things like that, and then set it loose in the wild or give it a very abstract command, and it will be able to produce meaningful results for you. And so this ability to interpret language, to interpret instructions, and then use these useful tools such as the ones I mentioned means that they have the tremendous capability to drive value. And as we mentioned earlier, when the agents can interoperate and they have different specialties, they can make agreements with one another and create value in even more complex ways and almost create like this parallel economy inside the bot economy. So this is a kind of abstract idea. What are, what's like a concrete example? I would say let's use the example of a personal assistant. So this is an agent that knows your personal preferences. It has access to your calendar. It has it has access to your time management. It has access to your phone, and it can help you arrange your schedule. And suppose that you in one of your meetings you get an opportunity to go speak at Bitcoin 2025 in Vegas, for example. Okay. And that presents a bunch of challenges on the logistical side of having to arrange a hotel and all this other stuff. So what it could do is then hire that out over the Lightning Network, over Bitcoin micropayments in order to into a travel booking agent, and that agent will be able to arrange for your parking, your transportation to and from the airport, the perfect flight for your work event, your hotel, etc. And you can see how these could collaborate and create value in a way that's a little bit abstract and less concrete and doesn't require explicit instructions. And so this is kind of this is a very simple example, but these are the types of applications you would be able to build with a sophisticated agent. And the reason why this is relevant to Bitcoin is because unless there's already a relationship there, unless all of the APIs and businesses running these agents have already made a predefined relationship, it limits the dynamism of this economy if it relies on predefined relationships and contracts. Imagine if we know that money is the glue that kind of holds society together, right? We use it as an exchange in order to solve the coincidence of wants, right? If we're talking Austrian. So now imagine this in the bot economy, right? You could apply it to your own life and think about, like, if you wanted to go to the grocery store, imagine if you had to have a contract with HEB every time you go to the grocery store. That would be kind of ridiculous. It'd be better if you had money, because then you could go to any grocery store. You wouldn't have to rely on just HEB. So that's kind of how Bitcoin plays into this. It's glue, but it creates flexibility that makes this system much more dynamic. And so just as we have these specialized bots in these two areas, you can imagine that there's bots in all kinds of areas. Maybe they're even more specialized than this. Maybe each of these agents has a sub agent or a sub process that is good at one particular thing, like just flights or just booking parking or just booking hotels. You could see how they could interoperate, but they imagine an internet filled with these types of agents. And you can quickly see how you kind of leave the paradigm of staring into a rectangle and trying to do things yourself. It'd be much more natural to probably speak through voice and accomplish these different tasks through the agents. So at Cascader, we're pursuing this really ambitious goal. This is a very futuristic, very challenging goal to achieve. And in the same way that that goal to go to the moon inspired a lot of inspired a lot of innovation, and created a lot of value. We're likewise doing the same thing. In pursuit of this ambitious goal, we've had to create a lot of APIs, a lot of modular tools. We had to focus on radical modularity, and that has spurred a lot of innovations and other spin-offs that have already flowed us revenue. So I'll get into those in a second. But before I do that, I want to talk about the challenges of reaching the machine payable web. So this is this idea of the AI-centric internet with Bitcoin glue holding it together. So what's holding it back in my eyes, there's three things. One of them is technical, and then two of them are more market structure. So the first is just agent reliability. So this idea of an agent essentially is, how many people here have used ChatGPT? Have any of you used ChatGPT? Yeah, so is it perfect? Does it give you the right result 100% of the time? Right. So because it's not reliable in a single run, that means that every time, most of these agents, what they do is they say, okay, do step 1, do step 2, do step 3, do step 4. So because it's fallible at the one step level, that and it's chained together, that those flaws get worse and worse as you go down the chain. So let's say it's even 99% accurate. That's pretty good, right? You'd probably be pretty happy with that if that was just your chat assistant, right? So if it's 99% accurate on one run, but you have to run it 10 times to accomplish a complex task, that means by the time you get to the output, it's about 90% accurate. So it's a lot less good. And so what that means is that it limits the usefulness of agents in especially mission critical applications, right? You wouldn't want this, flying your plane, for example, right? If it's only that accurate, right? You wouldn't want it doing like mission critical software that, controls, safety systems, right? You'd want to be very cautious about how you go about that. So as of now, the agents are not, they're not reliable enough for this reality to take place. So that's like the first technical barrier. The second barrier that I see is just agent specialization and diversity. So in general, I just see, I think the agents are so new that there isn't a lot of, there is specialization starting to happen, but you would have to have, right, for this to be viable, you would have to have like a wealth of probably thousands of agents with, at least hundreds of specialties that are created by different vendors, right? So you'd have to have this wealth of specialization and diversity. So this is sort of like a market factor. And so we're so early that this hasn't really materialized yet. And then the last is just the incentives for interoperability. So this is kind of where Bitcoin would come into play. So suppose you've solved the agent reliability problem and it's pretty excellent reliability. Suppose you already have a wealth of different vendors creating these things. The last problem would be just having an incentive for interoperability. So humans are irrational. Some people, a lot of these companies are pretty monopolistic. So they may want to hoard their information. I think over time that will wither away. That will just in the same way that the internet became more decentralized. I think this reality will happen, but it's there's got to be incentives for interoperability, and one way to do that is to have Bitcoin incentives for smaller businesses, more boutique agent designers to collaborate and exchange Bitcoin. And so that's kind of the way we see things. So if you notice, what do all three of these things have in common from the perspective of my company, Cascader? What do they have in common? We have no control over them, right? As a company, we have no control over them. So to be clear, there's companies like X, there's companies like OpenAI. They create the foundation models. They're spending hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on developing, the core research and development and LLM technology. We don't do that. We build applications. So the agent reliability problem's out of our hands, and a lot of these market forces, they're pretty much out of everyone's hands. It takes time for the market to develop. So we, given that this is the fact that we've kind of set ourselves up so that we're positioned when, this reality starts to materialize, but so that we're creating value along the way with all of the modules we made. And so at Cascader, our strategy and our mission is to innovate en route to this machine payable web. And so that's composed of 3 parts. The first is, as I said earlier, embracing radical modularity and creating interoperability between those modules, even just internally within our system. Bring time to value forward as much as possible. So we're Bitcoiners, we're low time preference, but that also means that Bitcoin is only going to be so low for so long, and that we're rapidly trying to make profit as soon as possible and get to sats flow. That's what we've been doing. And then last but not least, that's kind of related, is seek opportunity in high margin applications. So we're going after these applications where in a lot of cases it's businesses that are really interested in increasing their profits, increasing their productivity. And so along these lines, we've created a lot of different modules. So the first would be conversational input. That would be your familiar ChatGPT, Grok, et cetera. So we've kind of abstracted that out into a module that we can reuse in a lot of different cases. Then we have timestamp transcripts. So the ability to transcribe speech is very, very useful because it allows automated systems to understand audio and video at a more comprehensive way. We have a translation module, so the ability to translate. Email delivery, so just the ability to send out emails is incredibly useful when you're building an automated system. We have the ability to search quotes and select quotes based on their semantic valence, based on how, not just the keywords, but also how similar they are to our actual intent. We have Lightning payments, so this is the ability to just pay in Lightning or receive payments in Lightning, and gate processes based on whether or not a payment was completed. We have the ability to scan podcasts, so this is one application that's been very interesting to us that has yielded us some revenue. Private web search, so that's another one that's useful. Being able to plug in web search as context to a lot of different automated processes is incredibly valuable. And then last but not least, there's more, but another is just the ability to summarize a lot of content and be able to condense it into a legible format. And so, I'm using these Lego blocks because I'm trying to illustrate the fact that these modules can be recombined and used to build other things at all. Getting into 2 of our biggest wins so far. So the first up is pullthatupjamie.ai. So this is composed of really 2 parts. There is private web search and summaries. So if you're familiar, has anyone used Perplexity? Has anyone ever used it? So it's like a Perplexity, it's open source. And the beauty of it is it's anon friendly, so you can actually pay in Bitcoin and remain anonymous the entire time you use it. That is one of your biggest OPSEC leaks, is your relationship with Google, because they follow you all over the internet. They log your searches and they're able to ascertain a lot about you. So the vision with Pull That Up Jamie in general was just basically, what would it be like to have your own personal Jamie like Joe Rogan. So that would be being able to search things and then also being able to pull up clips really fast. So that's what I was talking about earlier when I'm talking about the semantic search, where it's able to find clips based on semantic valence. So you can give it kind of a vague, crappy search, and it'll still be pretty close to what you were actually looking for. So it's incredibly fast because it uses state-of-the-art techniques. They're called vector search, and also the ability to create clips based on this. So it's kind of like having your own personal media assistant like that. So we're focused on kind of the podcaster market, and we have we're piloting a pro service for podcasters right now that automates a lot of things that they do every day that is critical for them to grow their brand and grow their listeners. So believe it or not, all of these are required. We require conversational input for the search and for some other things that we haven't announced yet. We require the ability to do timestamp transcripts, so to be able to pull them, and this will become apparent in the demo in a second. The ability to deliver emails and alerts to our users, the ability to search for quotes, summarize things, receive Lightning payments, scan podcast feeds and also just search the web privately. So instead of running my mouth and just describing it, I'll show you what it's all about. So this is pullthatupjamie.ai. You can go there now if you have a device available. But I already searched San Antonio Bitcoin Club, but I can even look up Gabe back there. Yeah, so there we go. We're reading about Gabe here. So it's able to search the web. I'm using Lightning payments right now, and I'm able to search the web privately. This is all open source, private, and pull in into context at runtime. And it says Gabe Salinas is an entrepreneur and Bitcoin enthusiast who founded San Antonio Bitcoin Club, community dedicated to promoting, educating people about cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Maybe I have to use cryptocurrency, yeah. But yeah, it says Gabe is the founder, driving force. The club organizes regularly. Through these gatherings, the club aims to educate, engage the local community and potential of Bitcoin. And yeah, yeah, maybe it will. I'll add a chain analysis module soon, and we'll dox Gabe. But you get the point that it presents you the information. It actually gives you references in line, so you can actually double check. You can vary your level of scrutiny in terms and scope and depth to your liking. And so that's what I really like about this is it's very convenient in that way. I use it every day. I know a lot of other people use it every day, such as Brandon from Green Candle. He uses it to prepare for his daily streams to kind of look up content that he's going to talk about, current events. So that's one side of Pull That Up, Jamie. The other is the ability to search podcasts. So I actually ran it once already, but I'm trying to think of a good term. Somebody shout out a term. You want Walker from Walker America? Yeah, he's in here actually. So let's see. So this just searched 250,000 podcast clips, and it'll play this one back. I think the internet's a bit slow here. Man, I think the internet's a bit... Yeah, you guys can't hear it, but it's playing back the Larry Lepard episode. And so it's able to find, it's able to do a deep search on all of the podcast transcripts in real time and pull them up. And you could actually share this link. So if I wanted to share with Steve here, I could just text him this link and it would dump him in the middle of the podcast just to the part that you want. And then also you have the ability to clip them. I won't do that right now, but you have the ability to clip them. And I'm working on agents that will automatically clip them based on your preferences. And so the result is something like this where it will create waveform and something that you can share on social media. So this is a tool that's being adopted by a lot of different podcasters, especially in the Bitcoin space. So this is kind of an alpha, but we're getting to the point where we're going to start ramping up and bringing in more people onto this platform and helping podcasters to increase their brand. Any questions before I continue?
So I said 47 feeds.
Yeah, so yeah, I prefetch 47 feeds. I don't do every podcast in the world. I just do, I did like the last 40 or so of about 47 podcasts, and that adds up to like 250,000 clips. I can keep going. There's not really a huge limitation on storage. Like it's pretty wide open. Well, it's not text-based, it's vector-based. And so it's incredibly fast because it's just comparing the vectors. It's not comparing text.
Here you go, YouTube. How are you accessing the base layer LLMs? Do they provide APIs for you or what?
Yeah, so I use APIs mostly for Claude, but I also do ChatGPT. I'm looking to start standing up my own like DeepSeek inside inside secure enclaves and things like that. I'm less focused on being a player in the foundation model space and more focused on making sure I have optionality and making sure that I'm applying these correctly. I think we still have a honeymoon phase where we're not really going to get messed with too bad in terms of like, censorship and things like that. So I'm not as worried about that. I think that day will come, but that's the beauty of the open source models. We'll just cut over to those as fast as possible when that day comes, and we'll probably be there before then, to be honest. But I'm more focused on the application layer and kind of just using these, LLMs as steel beams that I use to erect huge skyscrapers and tanks, bridges, whatever I choose to build. Does that answer your question, Steve? Okay. Okay.
What do you,
Go ahead. Oh, sorry, John.
what do you use for your transcription models, and then what do you use for your vector embeddings?
Yeah, I use DeepGram, and they're technically closed source, but they have very strong, high accuracy models that I prefer, and they also have just a really good transcription timestamp API. So I've been using them for the most part, and then I've been using Ada embeddings, but I could easily switch to BERT or whatever else I need to switch to pretty fast. Embeddings is pretty. I want to say it's not consequential. It's pretty cheap and it's pretty straightforward to cut over to new stuff. I'm just familiar with Ada, so I stuck with that. Okay, so next up, so we talked about Pull That Up, Jamie. That's kind of the more fun, consumer-facing one. This is a really interesting win that we got, and this was totally organic. This came from a defense attorney that I knew in Travis County, which is the county that Austin is in, and he came to us looking for a way to make translation of body cam footage much cheaper. So he's a defense attorney, and he had a case where there was a bilingual situation there, and he needed us to transcribe and translate the body cam footage. That is a very expensive, error-prone, and time-consuming process. And so we were able to reduce his cost by about 80%, which was very significant. The cost was so high that the county was unwilling to do the human translation. And so I was very proud that we were able to bring that cost well within reach and get us to the point where not only are we saving the county money, but we're also pretty much guaranteeing that somebody's going to get their Sixth Amendment right to a fair trial. So as a Bitcoiner, I'm not really seeking out government contracts, but this one found me, and I felt good that this aligned with our values. So that was really exciting. And so we were able to transcribe and translate bilingual body cam footage. We were able to tabulate it in such a way that it was admissible in court. And then also just the ability to review and search footage in real time. I'll show you that in the demo, but we just completed the pilot project. We actually just got paid out a few days ago by Travis County in Austin. So we're really psyched about that, and we're gonna build off that and hopefully continue expanding our reach throughout Texas and other counties that need this. And so digging back into how the modules that we've been building come into play. We have the timestamp transcripts once again. We have translation, so that was a critical component that was new, not in the other one. And then the ability to search quotes and select things, that's critical for. I don't think it came into play in this case, but that is critical for when an attorney is looking for important tidbits that could be critical in a trial. So those three components are incredibly important. I can kind of give you a quick visual. I'm not going to actually run the application here because it is a bit time consuming, but can show you what it looks like. And so, basically you go in, you upload your file. It goes through our back end, does its thing. Yeah. And so this is what the output looks like. So I found a video on YouTube of DPS finding a group of suspected migrants, right?
Is the volume on the TV?
I'm not playing the volume. I mean, I don't think you. Yeah, I don't think you can. Oh, okay, you know what? This is off here. I don't think it's critical. But you can see the interaction happening, right? He's telling people to get on the floor, stuff like that. You could search and find different parts of it, bookmark them. And then we also create the ability to export it to a table, right? So this will be admissible in core. It'll be easily useful. So we're excited about this application. It's a pretty straightforward application. We see a lot of opportunity for creating future value, but we're freaking psyched about this. And this is what we're talking about when we're saying, this mission of the machine payable web has, forced us to embrace radical modularity and create these different modules that create other spin-off products that are very valuable. So, as I was saying, just as the space race forced us to invent a bunch of things, this ambitious mission forced us to invent things that led to the creation of pullthatupjamie.ai and this other legal app. It's called Clara AI. And it's all thanks to these modules, these different modules that we have ready to go. And as AI advances, as things get more and more sophisticated, we'll be able to deploy them in a flexible way that is very much like the vision of the machine payable web.